Comments made on the following paid commercial program are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time.
Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show. On the program this week, moneymercials, and our special guest, complete with tax tip, David Ingram. Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show. I'm Sterling Fox, and our special guest this week is tax expert David Ingram, president of Senta Business Services. Welcome back to the show, David.
Well, thank you, Sterling. And of course, we do tax tips and so on all the time, so it's nice to do a live show with you. What are we going to talk about
Well,
today?
We've done this once before, and we will, of course, get that all-important tax tip at the end of the program. But David, I'd like to pick up basically where we left off about 6 months ago, and that's the whole matter of Canadians who choose to live abroad and either do business or buy property. And as the United States housing market continues to deteriorate, it's becoming more and more attractive to more Canadians who are looking at buying, cheapening real estate in the United States.
Well, let's just talk about two things then. Let's talk about, rather than living abroad, let's talk about snowbirds, which have particular problems.
Okay.
And snowbirds, and we'll talk about the States, and if we can do a little bit of Mexico, I'd like to do it.
Absolutely.
When we decided to do the show, the Mexican connection hadn't happened, but what happened in Mexico right now, down in La Manzanilla, is that approximately 42 pieces of property were just seized from Canadians and Americans who had bought the property 10, 11 years ago, and there was a question about the title at the time. So to encourage these people to buy these $1 million properties, the president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, signed the deed so that these people had, what do you call it? They had security. And the courts have overturned the property deed, said that the property belongs to the people back there. So now they've just seized the property and forbidden the people even to go on it to get their personal effects. And that just happened last week down in La Manzanilla, Mexico.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because Mexico, as far as Canadian snowbirds are concerned, is at least as popular a destination as Arizona or Hawaii or California.
Yeah, for instance, there's like 35 people from Powell River that spend their winters in La Manzanilla, Mexico. It's a very popular place, crocodiles in the lagoon, et cetera, et cetera. But let's talk about the problem, the big problem that everybody does, and that's you're a snowbird. You want to go down and buy a place in Phoenix.
Right.
Or you want to buy a place just across the border in Birch Bay, or you live in Toronto and you want to buy a place in Niagara Falls or one of the other places in New York. Lake Champlain is a very popular place for Canadians to buy. Vermont ski cabin if you're from Montreal. The problem with a Canadian or a Frenchman or a Greek buying a place in the States is that if you just want to have your own summer cabin or your winter ski chalet, doesn't matter what nationality you are, you can buy the land. If you're really handy, you can rent a bulldozer, dig the hole for the foundation. If you're even handier, you can build the forms for the foundation. If you're really handy, you can mix your own cement and fill the foundation.
But most of us are nowhere
and then
near
you can
that handy.
In other words, you can build the whole cabin, the whole chalet
by
yourself.
Okay.
If you are the owner, and if you and your wife are on the title, then she can help too. If you've got minor kids living at home, they can help. But if your brother comes down to spend the weekend with you, he can't hammer a nail, he can't paint anything, can't sweep the driveway or the front steps or anything. So you can build, you can own, you can do anything you want to a piece of property that's yours in the States.
Including hiring a contractor to build that vacation dream home.
Sure can. But I'm trying to get it, because it's always okay to hire a contractor to do something on your property. The problem is when it's you or your friends or something of this nature.
Which would be seen as foreigners taking work away from Americans.
You got it.
Okay.
Which is why you hear at places like Birch Bay or Point Roberts, where somebody's going across the border and they open up the trunk and they find out he's got a whole toolkit in there. And the close questioning, they find out that he's going down to help his his Canadian friend, put the roof on the house or something of that nature. Can't do that. In fact, your brother can't, your 23-year-old son can't. They got to be a minor child. to help on the house unless their name's on the title.
Okay.
Now, the other time that you can't do any work, and this is a really dangerous one, is if you're going to rent that place out, even for a day a year. If you're renting the property out, you're stuck. You cannot paint it, you can't decorate it, you can't repair it, you can't do anything to that property because now it's become a business property.
Again,
And
is securing a contractor services to
Oh,
do the
you can-
improvements?
you
No
can rent-
problem again there.
Rent somebody else to
Okay.
do it. And here's what happens in places like Point Roberts, Birch Bay, or even down in Scottsdale, Arizona. Somebody's got a condominium down there and they rent it out and they call a contractor and they say, how much to paint my condominium? The contractor says $850, and the fellow who's a little bit handy says, well, my God, it's only $68 worth of paint,
Sure,
or
right.
$180 worth of paint. I'll do it myself. So he's happily painting the condominium that the contractor and the property manager for the strata title condominium place knows is a rental unit. They can call Homeland Security. Homeland Security comes along, puts handcuffs on you,
Oh, my.
throws you in the back of one of those big Suburbans or Tahoes or something, and carts you off to Joe, what's his name, Joe Appeals?
Oh, the sheriff. Oh, yeah, in Phoenix.
His immigration hell.
Right, right.
And it's just a really serious thing to get yourself involved
Now,
in.
that's technically what is possible under the law.
Oh, I
How
hear it.
frequently does it happen?
Well, we had a lady, we're just about on the edge of White Rock right now, and we had, this is 10 years ago, but just to make a point that it's not new, we had a lady down here in South Surrey whose husband died in flagranto in the arms of the property management manager for I think it was 32 condominiums that they had down there. So the wife got really mad, fired the property manager, and she and her son went down, put a notice around to all the property people and said, don't pay the property manager anymore, pay us. And then they started going around, and by the time they got to the 13th place to collect rent, the property manager, the ex-property manager, called in Homeland Security, although it was the INS then.
Right, right.
And they came along, arrested the mother and son, threw them in jail for 5 days, not 5 years. And it cost them $5,000 each to get out of immigration jail. And of course, when that happens to you, you can't go back down. So she ended up losing the property because she didn't have a manager, couldn't do anything with it, and then the bad part was the manager turned out, the property manager had the second mortgage on the property, so she ended up owning them.
Are the rules governing how limited or the limited amount of activity you can do to a place in the States the same in Mexico, or is that a whole different ballgame?
Mexico is not enforcing any of those rules
Okay.
right now, but again, because of where you are, it's difficult for somebody to go down and do that kind of thing on their own without hiring all the locals. But in Thailand, a fellow from Calgary just spent something like 5 months in jail for serving. He had 5 condos in a unit, just like we're talking about, and he was serving on the Strata Council. And he got put in jail for serving on the Strata Council, which they can say, even though it's volunteer, doesn't get paid for it, and he owned 5 units in this complex, he was theoretically taking a job away. And in Birch Bay, which is just, I don't know, half an hour's drive from here, where we're filming this right now, one of the people on the Strata Council at Birch Bay Leisure Park fired a local
Employee?
employee, and the employee went to the INS and they tried to get him evicted the same way. They didn't do it at that time. They took easier, but you don't want to end up in a Thailand jail. You don't want to end up in a Mexican
I don't want to
jail
end
or
up in
anything else.
anybody's
You don't
jail
want
if it's all the same to
and
you.
you don't
David.
want to end up in Joe's jail down in Phoenix, Arizona,
no.
with the pink underwear and all the rest of it.
We need to take a break right now. Our guest this week on the Money and Wealth Show is international tax expert David Ingram, and we'll be back.
Hi, I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc. Our project in Arizona is electrolytic manganese. We have a resource of 11 billion pounds, currently trading at $1.40 a pound. Our cost, 44 cents. For more information, go to our site at americanmanganeseinc.com or phone me direct at 604-531-9639. Hi, I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of Gold Ray Resources Corp. Our major project is in Shandong Province, China. It's a gold project with a 43101 resource. We're currently negotiating a $16.5 million US loan to take it into production at 1,500 tons per day. For more information, go to goldray.com or phone me directly at 604-531-9639. Hi, I'm Larry Ray, Chairman and CEO of Molycorp Gold Corp. Our major project in Nevada is magnesium. We have a 43101 resource of 52 billion pounds at $1.30 a pound. Do the math. Go to our website at molycorp.com or phone me direct at 604-531-9639.